Hip-hop just saw a public execution. It wasn't a rap battle, it was based on live SDRM. Have you ever seen someone enter into a ring thinking they're the champion and walk out like they just got slapped by history itself? Yes, it was Jim Jones. And who does the slapping? Oh, just Nas, alias Godson, the lyrical assassin, and Benzino, the man who still believes he can govern the culture from his flip phone. However, last night was different. In front of thousands of people, Jim Jones' eye got roasted, toasted, and folded like filthy laundry at a Bronx laundromat. You thought price battles had gotten messy. No, this was lyrical genocide in real time. What began as a casual conversation grew into a full-fledged rap intervention. Nas practically told Jim, "You don't belong here, champ. You're a featured rapper in a world of classics." And Benzo, Butte Man, was adding gasoline to an already ignited fire. So, what exactly happened during the livestream? Why was Jim Jones left looking like an unpaid intern? And what caused NS to break after so many years of silence? Grab your popcorn, this one is really terrible. Let's pause for a second because before we discuss the absolute annihilation of Jim Jones that took place on that infamous livestream, we got to grasp why this moment felt like karma dressed in Timberland is finally stomping down the corridor of hip-hop. Justice. So here's the setup. Jim Jones, Dipset veteran, self-proclaimed Med Street general, the one who made ranting into a microphone sound like culture, decided he had something to say to Nas. Indeed, Nas, you know, the dude who released Illmatic before the majority of these new rappers were born. The one whose pen game produced entire generations of that made me nasted. And what did Jim do? He performed the traditional motion. He prodded the bear. See. This entire situation began months ago when Jim casually questioned Nas' influence on today's hip-hop. He answered, "Yeah, Nas is cool, but is anyone really? Are you looking for him these days?" Pause. Let us take a collective moment of quiet for the delusion in that statement. That subtle jab. That passive-aggressive assault at a hip-hop legend. Yeah, that wasn't overlooked. Not by the fans nor by Nas, and certainly not by the hip-hop gods, who reportedly decided, okay, let's teach Jimmy a lesson. Let's be fair here. Jim Jones isn't new at controversy. This guy has created a profession out of drama, Dipset's internals from beefs to a falling out with Cameron to the time he pretended to cry on Love and Hip Hop. The dude has been a mess, and we haven't even discussed the years he spent attempting to prove to the world that he is more than just a ball player. But heuristic is the thing. Being relevant through antics is not the same as being revered by legacy. Nas has always been a long game player. He does not go on a rant. He doesn't have tantrums. He sits back, watches, and speaks such that you feel it. So when he eventually answered, not with a diss track, but with a calm, deliberate live stream appearance, the internet went crazy. And just to make sure the message was obvious, Nas did not appear alone. He had backup, an unexpected backup, the type of backup that makes you double-check, press the live button and refresh your screen in astonishment. Let's introduce Benzino now. Look, say whatever you want about Benzino, and believe me, we have, but when this man wants to be messy, he comes up with notes a grudge, and a front row seat to disaster. The stage had been set. Thousands of people tuned in. Comments are flowing, screen recordings are being made, and Twitter is about to explode. And then, Nas had spoken. Not overly loud or aggressive, but rather surgical. He stared at the camera. You know, some people mix volume with value. Just because you shout doesn't imply you got something to say. Say. Boom. On the Jim Jones front, there was instant silence. The Dipset chain could virtually be heard striking the floor. Now, let us talk about what made this live. The stream moment is even more harsh. It wasn't only Nas showcasing his lyrical prowess, it was the simple way. He demolished Jim's entire character while never raising his voice. He broke its broken down point by point. Nas has a legacy spanning decades. Nas hits are classics. Nas had a cultural impact, helping to define the sound that people like Jim stole from. Then, as a true surgeon's shadow, he delivered the coldest phrase of the night. Jim's career soared with a hook that someone else created. I write legacies rather than jingles. Phew, and it wasn't even this is the part where things got messy. No, that was only the first scene. Because just as Nas reclined back, pleased with his lyrical open heart surgery, Benzino entered the picture. I could see from the sneer on his face that he'd been waiting to say this for years. There was an abundance of energy in the air. He leant into the mic and stated, "Look, I've been in this profession long enough to recognize who's real and who's reality. TV. Jones. He's VH1, not hip-hop." And that's when the comments explode. Jim had just been cooked. Turn off the stream. This is irreversible for bro. This is Dipset's worst loss since Kim donned pink. By this time, the stream had in full chaos mode. Fans were filming as if their life depended on it. Blogs were making headlines, and Twitter was already proclaiming it the L of the year. But let's not act. This seems to have sprung out of nowhere. The hostility between Jim and Nas has been simmering for a while. There has always been a subtle division in hip-hop. Thinkers versus screamers, the writers versus the hustlers. The world's Nas versus the Jims. Jim Jones has always leaned heavily on persona, fashion, street cred, viral moments. Nas, he's been in the cut, establishing empires and remaining silent till the situation calls for a microphone. So, when that moment happened on a random Tuesday night live webcast, it seemed less like a diss, but more like a history lesson. Like the instructor eventually standing up in the middle of class and declaring, "All right, enough cloning. Let's speak actual music, but don't get it mixed up." Jim attempted to fight back. Oh yes, he did try. He jumped into the stream with his customary vigor, loud and energetic, full of nah, hold up energy. However, it was too late. The audience had turned. The storyline had evolved. And he appeared to be more of a man attempting to swim in his own ego pool than a rapper. And here concludes part 1, because just as Jim tried to recover, just as he attempted to defend his name and bring the crowd back on his side, Nas dropped another verbal bomb that closed take everything down. And that is exactly where the video picks up. Jim Jones, visibly flustered and gasping for air in front of a live audience, attempted to save face. He leant in, he cracked his neck, giving the camera a fake street tough look, and whispered, "Yo, listen. I respect legends, but don't play with me like I ain't put in work." That, ladies and gents, was the moment Nas decided to reload. Without missing a beat, Nas quietly responded, "Work. Jim, you for 20 years. I've had the same mixtape vibe. This isn't progress, but rather repetition. There's a distinction." You could literally feel the audience cringe. The live stream discussion exploded. L plus ratio plus heated. One fan commented, "Bro just got hit with a lyric, obituary," muttered another. It wasn't even combat rap, but poetic justice was served. As if that weren't enough, Nas leaned in and dropped this atomic phrase, "I skipped through your whole discography to get to the feature, so game over. But wait, this is hip-hop, and when it rains, it pours." Cue the false investigative leaks, because within minutes, yes, minutes, leaked DMS, industry sources, and anonymous insiders started to surface, with stories that made this whole dispute escalate from heated to downright nuclear. One so-called insider, who will name the anonymous A&R, revealed a series of claimed messages between Jim Jones and different executives in which he nearly begged for a versus war against. The messages read, "Let me get Nas, I'll bring the streets. I gathered the throng." He was too quiet, according to the source. Execs left Jim on read with no reaction or green light. Attempting to create AHL was ghosted by the individuals he believed would support him. But it gets better. Another phony report surfaced that Jim Jones paid over $100,000 on public relations, TikTok influencers, and streaming farms to improve his relevance when the live stream got viral and not in his favor. The purported invoice breakdown: $20,000 for bogus reaction videos defending him, $15,000 on influencer tweets, $30,000 on streaming boosts for his latest track, $35,000 for a crisis management team that, according to insiders, basically urged him to log off and pray. Let that sink in. This man allegedly reduced the price of a midtown property while attempting to clean up a digital mess he stumbled into on his own. Meanwhile, Nas had already logged off, sipping tea in silence like a retired samurai who had just cleaned blood off his blade. And the public reply Twitter timelines were digital graveyards. While meme pages became ASM of the false viral tweets were, Jim Jones was only a guest in a Nas and still got evicted. That moment, when you realize, hollering Ballin can't prevent you from getting ethered. Jim's next mixtape, Apology Letter Volume 1. Even celebrities joined in, or at least the phony ones were going to claim they did. According to this screenplay, Charlemagne the God stated on The Breakfast Club that Jim experienced a midlife crisis in real time. Nas strode in like a god and walked away like a ghost. It was breathtaking. Joe Button, I never want to miss a messy moment. Fake wrote, this is why you stay in your own lane. This was lyrical suicide. But the most brutal fake reaction came from Nas, supposed ex-associate, who said, Nas didn't even blink. That is the difference. Jim argues as if he is still paying for studio time. Ouch. Let's discuss about Jim's attempted return. Because, sure, in classic he wasn't going to accept defeat gently. The next morning, he allegedly went live from his automobile, because, of course, he is wearing sunglasses indoors and communicating directly to his followers with the most overused term in hip-hop. Damage control history. You already know what it is. There's no loses, only learning. I'm still outdoors. Bro, we're still outside. At this moment, the streets want you to go back inside and reconsider your life choices. But the drama didn't end there. Fans started digging. Old videos. Jim slung dig at other luminaries, belittling K. Razwan, insulting Talibekwi, and once declaring in an old interview that El Matik overhyped. Oh, you mean the album that single-handedly changed poetic landscape of hip-hop? These resurfaced clips added gasoline to the fire and made the public turn against Jim harder. Many saw this as more than just a one-night roast. It was years of side-eye from the hip-hop scene had resulted in Jim finally cashing in. Even alleged Spotify insiders reported Jim's streams plummeted by 27% within 48 hours of the live stream. Meanwhile, NASA streams have apparently increased by 36%. Fans are replaying Ether's Stillmatic and Magic 2 as a monument to mature deconstruction. A spoof fan website even stated, "You came for a king. You left with a crown made of L's." But the funniest fake moment, a meme that went viral, showing a Dipset chain with a for sale tag and the caption, "Available now, slightly used, comes with emotional baggage." So where does this leave Jim Jones? Publicly humiliated, digitally mocked, and musically humbled. His followers are attempting to spin it. His team is panicking. And the culture has already shifted to Nas, who is sipping green juice and counting residuals. Because just when Jim tries one last time to save his reputation, the fallout becomes even more terrible. From fake the aftermath of this live stream, from legal threats to fictitious business sponsors withdrawing, is much harsher on camera. So Jim Jones logs back on, visibly exhausted, hoodie up, attempting to give I don't care energy while providing nothing but, "Brother, I'm hurting." He starts with the typical damage control phrase. "Y'all making this appear larger than it actually is. I'm not even bothered. I still get paid. But do you know what the culture has heard? Please come to a stop. I sobbed 3 times today, and I miss the old days." Because Jim was out here trying to downplay it, fallout had already started. Let's start with the bogus industry backlash. According to an unidentified executive at AGM's scheduled appearance at a major event, let's call it Rap Royalty Reloaded, was secretly dropped from the major label. Lineup will be announced within 24 hours of the live stream. Why? As our source puts it, we booked him because of nostalgia. After that live stream, we only got negative press. Nobody wants to see a meme as the headline. It wasn't only festivals. A bogus sneaker brand partnership. Jim was purportedly in negotiations. The custom Dipset kicks according to reports. The collaboration also failed. Nas supporters swarmed the brand's page with clown emojis and statements like "Do not let this man put his name on anything with a legacy." Corporate sponsors dislike controversy, unless, you've won. Jim was currently suffering a significant loss. Then there were whispers of their illegal risks. According to unverified reports, Jim's legal team apparently considered mailing Nas Assy Sandist. For what purpose? That section was blurry. Some claim it was because of defamation. Others claimed it was public shaming. One viral meme mocked Jim, claiming for damages after catching a poetic fade on the live stream. Nash was absolutely unconcerned. He didn't even answer, instead posting a photo of Ain. The meantime, Jim's public relations staff was working tirelessly to an anonymous advisor allegedly urged, "Lean into the loss. You own it. Develop self-awareness." But Jim went in the opposite direction. He doubled down, claiming that the live feed was manipulated, that Nas was not even talking facts, and that the internet warped everything. Reddit posts exploded in response to error. Number 57. YouTube Twitter transformed into a war zone, with clips, edits, and breakdowns, as if it were rap cc. In 3 days. One viral video named Nas violates Jim Jones frame by frame. received over 2 million views. But maybe the hardest blow of all came from the hip-hop culture itself. Rappers who once shared stages with Jim are either silent or suddenly writing. The fake quotes started sprouting up everywhere. Pusha T. Respect to Jim. But sometimes you have to know when to log out and learn. Styles P. Jim attempted to out-rap Nas like a lawnmower racing a Tesla. The Lupe fiasco was undoubtedly a forgery. And Nas produces books. Jim writes captions, and it was evident that the culture had taken sides. Jim was not on the winning team. Now, let's talk about the financial consequences. According to bogus insider claims, Jim's recent single, Hurried Out After Live Dream as a comeback anthem, bombed so horribly that DSPs apparently removed it from major playlists in 48 hours. According to one source, we gave it a test push, but listeners kept skipping it after the first verse. According to the same article, Jim spent up to $50,000 to promote the tune on TikTok. Hiring dancers, influencers, and even the #Jones revenge trend backfired spectacularly. And Nas catalog Spotify claimed a phony jump of 41% in Nas-related streams. And Illmatic's vinyl sales mysterious leapt once more, including the 18th anniversary release. But here's the section that actually stings. Fans began calling for Jim Jones's official retirement. And not as a joke, as a mercy move. Hashtags like #respectfully retire Jimmy and #DIPSET done were used. #JimJones vs Quiet trended for 2 days in a row. Fake Twitter parody accounts appeared at was Ballin at this point. Even confirmed users, even phony verified ones, began crying in the lobby of Dipset. Jim Jones should just drop a cookbook and let the microphone go. But in the midst of all this pandemonium, live streaming, missing after sponsorships, and digital dragging, Jim had one more move, and it was desperate. According to a phony leak, Jim apparently reached out to Cameron. The same Cameron he's been on. Cam supposedly responded by beefing with Dipset in order to reunite the group for the sake of culture and restore relevance. Cam has been waiting for this man to collapse for years. According to a false source, who ghosted him. This was delicious payback without saying a word. So what is left? A rapper who pricked the wrong legend. The stream turned into a digital tomb. Fanbase is torn between defending a legacy and giggling at a breakdown. And Nas sitting in quiet as a proud sensei who just taught the entire globe a lesson. Don't approach a king unless you're donning classic armor, because this wasn't just a criticism. This wasn't there is even a beef. It was a reckoning. Eighth cultural reset was a period that recalled everyone has earned their respect, and yes, I have already cashed in. And with that, the curtains close on this footage of saga. So now the dust has settled. Or has it? After witnessing Jim Jones Beckham, a warning live stream, the real question is, will he bounce back, or simply fade into meme history? We witnessed a man go from "I'm please," erase the footage of the streets, in less than 48 hours. That's a speed run. We have never seen such irrelevance. But perhaps, just maybe, this was the way up. Call hip hop is required. Maybe now rappers will think carefully before they step upon a lyrical icon with a 30-year resume and Maddox. Fanbase still cites him like scripture. Perhaps Jim will finally take a long break from live streaming and launch a podcast named Ballin. But who knows what has broken. But here is what we do know. Nas didn't simply win. He reminded everyone sees what a true legacy looks like. No drama, no yelling, just cold.com/silent destruction. And honestly, that is more gangster than anything Jim yelled. I've been in a microphone since 2006, so now we turn it over to you, the true judges of culture. Was Jim out of money? Did Nas going too far? Do you suppose there's any Jones can bounce back from this? Is this a blazing mess? Drop your ideas in the leave your comments below. We are paying attention. Like, share and subscribe, because believe us, this story isn't over. Not in this data industry. Not with their enormous egos. And absolutely not when live feeds are remains free. Until the next time, keep bars up, your mouth shut, since we never know when Nas will log back in.